Welcome to Fellowship Safaris, conversations about people of color and their journeys to subspecialist training in their countries of origin and around the world. Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Jerry Kariajahe. I'm an Atlas in Medicine specialist and consultant pediatrician based in Nairobi, Kenya. And I also have the privilege of going on this safari from week to week, episode to episode with different healthcare professionals, different specialists, just to be able to get a sense of what their medical education journeys have been like. Today, I have the pleasure, the honor, the privilege of being able to interview and have a conversation with one of my closest friends. Loki, I'm surprised she said yes because she tends to be shy-ish. No, shy adjacent. But let me not get ahead of myself. Kindly introduce yourself and your professional qualifications.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy and humbled to be here today. So my name is Dr. Caroline Ndarathi. I am a consultant dermatologist doing part-time private practice. I work at Kenyatta National Hospital and also do part-time private practice as well.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yes, just taking you way back, well before we ever met. When was the first time that you had realized medicine is the thing that you're going to do?
Well, I'll be very honest.
Yeah.
I was not one of those people who were from primary school that I want to be a doctor. In fact, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a fashion designer.
Yo!
So if this didn't work out, I would probably be in the arts somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think as I went along and after my KCSE examination, that's when I think my eyes opened up. I was like, I was looking into the medical field. Then one of my close friends, by chance, at that time, we were actually in the same high school, was going to do medicine. So that's how we ended up there. Because even my parents were like, are you sure this is the course that you want to do? Because they had never had me really professing my undying love. But
medicine.
Here we are.
Yeah.
20, 30 years down the line.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's so interesting. I know you'd mentioned this to me before, and I'm always amazed when I hear at some point you would have been a fashion designer if a different path had been taken.
Yes.
Okay, and in terms of your medical learning experience, what was that like for you?
So, of course, now starting at undergrad level at the University of Nairobi.
Yeah.
So, of course, the first year is very challenging. The learning, of course, cannot be compared to high school.
Yeah.
But in terms of the learning, it was quite okay. There were, of course, some challenging times in undergrad, but all in all, I would say generally it was a good experience because, of course, there are friendships that you ended up cultivating, which you still have to date. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's one of your superpowers, that thing of nurturing and cultivating relationships. Look at you making a face. Cultivating relationships and at the same time keeping your friends grounded. I say that because during undergrad, again, I'm giving people flowers when I can. You are one of my lifelines. Because I remember like in third year, you are actually one of the people, like when I had a repeat exam to do, Yani, you had passed your exam, but you still came to hang out with me.
Yeah, because we have to pass, definitely.
You're like, Ruth, we're not leaving you behind.
Yes.
So I really appreciate that. I really, really do, because I don't think I would have hacked without you coming during the holidays, no less, knowing how intense med school is, and still coming during your time off to study for something you've already passed for.
No, I think, honestly, it's just something you would do, you know?
Yeah.
And I think even another close friend of ours who was at that time, I really don't think we took it as a thing. In fact, to us, it was a challenge. We're like, hey, this babe cannot not pass. Even when the results came out, we're like, Ruth, what are the results?
What are the results? Hey, guys were invested.
But to be honest, Ruth, as well, it was just a setback at that time, which all of us go through. But hey, you are a very organized person. In fact, I remember I used to ask, you've not written to June? I'm like, no, I've not done that.
I've not done this. Yeah, I know. You guys keep saying I'm so organized. I'm just like, well.
You're very organized. Very organized.
Thank you.
Yes.
I will take that. And when either during undergrad or was it after? Did you start to feel, this dermatology thing is something that I'd want to explore? How did that come about?
So in undergrad, I battled eczema and acne. And I think at some point my acne had been mismanaged when I was in campus. Of course, I had to change to a dermatologist who sorted it out. And then during internship, after internship when working as a medical officer, I was always drawn more towards patients with skin issues. So I was leaning more towards pediatrics at that time. I did some locums at one of the private hospitals in the country. But I was always drawn, even when the patients came, even when I was working generally, I was always more keen in patients with skin problems. Because I feel I used to identify with them more and feel like, okay, let's see how we can work around this and help you sort out your issues. And then my mentor also at that time. So, my journey. At that time, I was, because I really like working with the less privileged and seeing how you can uplift them. So I'd actually wanted to dabble a bit in public health. But then my mentor at that time, who was a dermatologist, also was like, Doc, I think this is a good field to pursue. There are not many people in the field currently. It's something you enjoy to do. Because it was then my dermatologist anyway at that time, was not sorting out my acne. And actually, he was very instrumental in me joining the dermatology practice. He mentored me a lot. I used to even seeing patients with him at the office, trying to show me the way to go. So I'm very, very indebted to him, actually. Yes.
That I remember. One of the privileges of being your friend is just seeing from a distance what this mentorship model looked like, because it doesn't happen every day. And I remember a lot of the time, a lot of us were struggling, like who can mentor me? Who can I go and they teach me the ropes of the various things? And, shout out to your mentor, because it was like 100%. Like, come to the clinic. Let me show you how this thing is done. Let me show you the practicalities of it. So going from that mentorship space of this is a possibility, how did you come about figuring out where it is you are going to study dermatology?
So there were a couple of options, because by then there was no dermatology being offered in Kenya. So most of including him and most of the other dermatologists, they're studying abroad and mainly in the UK. So that is where I decided to check. So for me, it was not even a recommendation or a referral to that particular university. I actually did my research, because one of the universities I would have gone to was very expensive in terms of how much the fees was. So I did my research, and what came up was Cardiff University. They're actually leading in research. They're leading in wound care, genetic studies. So with that, that's what now drew me to that. Of course, looking at the fee structure, how much, also when you go to the embassy, there's the amount of money you need for upkeep. It wasn't crazy amounts at that time. So that's how I ended up choosing the university I went to.
And it looks like you had really done your homework in terms of figuring out where it is you wanted to go. How did your family take it? Now you're a doctor, you are finished undergraduate, now you're telling them
that you want to go do your master's.
You want to go and do your master's.
Well,
so
to be honest, they didn't want me per se to go. In fact, they were like, okay, this is what you want to go. So, of course, I also had to come up with what I had saved. If I'm approaching my parents to say, again, please help me with my master's. Sometimes you feel, I'm done with university now, ujipange mbele. But they were instrumental. So I had to have had some savings I'd saved. And then now I approached them and said, this is how much I've saved. Please help me with X amount for my tuition fees. Then now you sort yourself. You try to jipanga.
So don't come at your parents with zero.
No. If you're going to approach someone and you want them to assist you, bring something to the table.
Correct.
So that they see you have put in effort. Then they say, okay, so this is how much you need to help you.
So they get to do that. They top you up and you manage to get to go to Cardiff. What was the preparation for that like?
So there is this company called UNICEF. At that time, I'm not even sure. I think it was part of my research because they actually really, really helped me. They make sure you have everything ready. By the time you're going to the embassy, they even number for you how your documents will be asked for.
Oh, okay.
They give even a folder. You just go and present. So they tell you, you need to do the IELTS, which is the English proficiency exam. which is weird considering we're English-speaking country. I've never understood.
To date.
Yes.
Anyway.
So you do that exam.
Yeah.
So that you need to do. Other than the IELTS, I think that was it. Whatever else, now there are the requirements from the university. You need to have been working in a dermatology facility before going for the program, because you don't start from zero. You have to have some knowledge and some information.
Right.
The only thing I would say about our program, it was more of you don't do actual procedures on actual patients. Since Kenyatta then in Kenya was the only place with a dermatology unit fully functional. So you do some months in Kenyatta before you go for your specialization.
Yes.
Then after that, you had to come back to Kenyatta for 2 years minimum.
To
work
put
there.
that in place that time.
Yes, you have to work there, you're on call, everything. Honestly, that is, because I still work there, continues to be and is very, very beneficial.
Yeah.
Yes.
So since the time that you went to study dermatology and came back, in terms of the requirements for different people, because I feel like the medical education landscape for dermatology has been shifting.
Yes.
What happened after that in terms of the requirements now?
So at that time before, you could go do the MSc. So you had to first rotate before going.
Yes.
You go there, then you come back for the mandatory 2 years.
Yes.
Before you can be registered as a dermatologist. So
Right.
to me, it was like a 3-year program.
Yes.
Now this has changed. Now the board says that you need to do an MED.
Yes.
So if you want to do dermatology directly, you need to do an MED in dermatology.
Yeah.
Or you can be an MED pediatrics or internal medicine, and then now you can subspecialize in dermatology.
In dermatology, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So masters either in peds or internal medicine.
Yes.
And then now subspecializing in dermatology.
Yes.
What were some of the highlights of your training experience in Cardiff?
Wow, it was very, very nice. They are very want to create equitable, learning.
Yeah.
If you're having issues with your lectures or you're not able to attend, there was always someone who you could reach. There was always a unit you could reach out to say if you're having difficulties, if you're having difficulties with fees, if you're having any social difficulties. And I think the learning structure it was very well structured.
Yeah.
Yes, so it was a very good learning experience, especially when looking into things in research. Because I don't think, honestly, in the undergrad, our undergrad compared to their undergrad, where they do a lot of journal studies, write essays based on journals with research on a particular topic. So for me, that was something new.
Yes.
That I was learning, getting into that space.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we were attending, even when you're there, you attend conferences, there are meetings that you go to attend as part of the school. Yeah, but I think the other thing I would also like to mention, especially that part for funding, which I think helped now the other people now who came now after me, was I only came to learn about funding from the Commonwealth. There's a Commonwealth scholarship. There also other scholarships, but I found out about them when I was there. So, and some people who applied after me actually got full funding for school fees, for accommodation.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a hard scholarship to get, actually. Yeah,
In
I don't know
terms
how
of
it is now. Yeah, it was very straightforward.
Yeah. So that's the Commonwealth Scholarship.
Yes,
is it
the
still
Commonwealth.
Is it still available?
Yes, it is. It is still available.
Okay. Oh, that's good that at least even if you are to go and pursue that, that there is actually a funding structure that you can plug into.
Yes.
Yeah, because a lot of people, that is the big struggle. Okay, fine, I have
definitely,
this dream.
Definitely.
How am I going to do this thing?
Yes.
And what were some of the lows of being in Cardiff?
To be honest, it was just me being homesick.
Yeah.
And mimi na chakula, the food. I lost a lot of weight.
Yes. There's a time you came home and we were horrified. We're like, what?
Hey, there's a culture shock about the food there. Hey, but the food and being really homesick.
Yeah.
But otherwise, in terms, I can't say those honestly racism.
Yeah.
Because the Welsh are very accommodative, if I may say so.
Yeah.
It wasn't being in London where it's very cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
So I think for me, those were, I wouldn't say I encountered any. You could go to the town, watch movies. Those Honestly, it was good. And of course, you get to meet other international students.
Yes.
Learn how other people live. You're like, hey, kumbe. To me, honestly, one of my take-homes was East West, home is best.
Yeah.
If you have time to stay there for a while,
yes,
and experience the culture, work a bit, get networks, I still feel wherever you may be, still come back home. Yes. If you're able to come back.
Yeah.
But if you find a path there and it works for you, well and good, just go ahead.
Just go ahead. But for you, it was, at the end of the day, you're coming
back
back
home. Yes, I'm coming
home.
back, yes.
Yeah, and we are so glad you came back home. We had really missed you. You mentioned earlier that coming back, you had to plug back in to Kenyatta.
Yes.
So what was that transition like for you from Cardiff to Kenyatta?
There was a stark transition, especially in the terms of the learning culture.
Yeah.
But there continues to be and still is a lot of learning to learn in a referral hospital. So the structures are a bit different, but the learning definitely, there was a lot of things to learn.
Yeah.
So I was alone at that time when I came back. So you had to cover the unit. You know, now things in Kenyatta have changed for the better.
Yeah.
Where now patients are admitted. If you have a particular condition, if you have a dermatological condition, you're admitted directly.
Yeah, to dermatology.
If you have a cardiac condition, you go directly to the cardiac ward.
That's huge. Kenyatta never used to be like that. Like the National Referral Hospital never used to be like that before.
Yes.
Yeah, so now it's very direct,
it's
like
very
a specialist admission.
Now, at that time, it was not like that. So you would cover both the pediatric filter clinic outpatient and the main A&D casualty. So you could be called at night if there's a dermatological patient.
Yeah.
You go there. If there's a PEDS patient, you have to go to the pediatric filter clinic. If there are now patients who've been admitted to any ward and they needed to be transferred, you still had to go
first see them in whichever ward.
Then now you say transfer.
Yes.
But things have it's become very efficient now.
Yeah.
So I think that was a bit challenging at that time.
Yeah.
Yes.
In terms of the 2 years, how was it for you? Was it add-on or was it still the same sort of cases you sort of saw in Cardiff?
Definitely not. Not.
Yeah. In what way?
Definitely the conditions are different. And then you see Kenyatta is a referral hospital. So I don't know. I don't know, sometimes I lack the amount of learning you acquire in Kenyatta. Yeah. That helps you even with your career as you go is very, very monumental. It's very fundamental to your practice. I feel like there's some conditions even now probably you've not seen.
You only saw in Kenyatta.
Data. Yes. So there are conditions that, of course, like skin cancers are more common in white skin. There are some conditions which are more common in white skin or Caucasian skin, but it's also good to see how some conditions manifest on that skin. Yeah. Like, for example, us being asked this, how will you see erythema in dark skin, someone who is dark like you?
And erythema is like that reddish
color. Yes. You see, you can't see red color in someone who's really dark skin. Yes. So how do you appreciate that when you can really appreciate it on Caucasian skin? Yeah. So some of those nuances are some of the things now you come to appreciate when you come back home. Yeah. But definitely you have a broad knowledge and aspect of a number of conditions. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And in terms of how that has impacted practice, because that change affects the flow of the people who are coming out of the trainings. How did that impact you guys as a dermatology community when that change was made?
Well, that change was not made too far back.
Yeah.
Actually, right now, we have an MEd program that's running at JKUAT in collaboration with Kenyatta National Hospital.
Okay.
So we actually have now our second year. So we have 2 years now.
Yeah.
Also an MEd program in South Africa, but it was also very competitive. I'd also tried to apply severally. Yeah. But it's a very competitive program. Yes. So, but now we do have an MEd program, a locally available MEd program in dermatology.
That's now 2 years.
2 years old, yes. 2 years old.
It's now 2 years old.
Yes.
That's interesting. I didn't even know. Oy, don't kill me. Yes. I didn't know that there was an MEd dermatology program now in the country.
Yes.
In terms of the number of dermatologists, how many are you guys in the country right now?
We are probably just shy of 30, I would say.
For the whole country?
Yes, for the whole country.
Of almost 50 million people?
Yes.
There are 30 people?
Yes. Or you are also very few adolescent medicine specialists.
Mine is just one. I don't even know where I put myself.
Yes.
But 30, okay, compared to 5 years ago,
yes.
30 is a much bigger number for sure. And I ask that very specifically because there are people trying to figure out, okay, what's the specialty that I can go into where I'll be able to put food on the table and there'll be work, basically.
Yes.
So it's good to hear that it has grown as a practice, but then also that there's still room for more growth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So since coming back and going into practice, how has studying and doing dermatology worked out in terms of work-life balance for you?
I think that was also one of the things that drew me to dermatology.
Yeah.
There's good work-life balance. Of course, there are a few emergencies. I know people wonder which emergencies are these that you're called for in dermatology. But there are emergencies that you have to go manage. But there's good work-life balance. You can have you can set your hours and say you'll work from this time to this time, teach from this time to this time. Yeah, I would say there's definitely good. The emergencies are not that many.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. They're not that many. And you can largely have a 9 to 5?
Yes,
largely.
Definitely. Yes, largely can have a 9 to 5.
Okay. I say that because sometimes I'm like, are the memes true? Because guys are like, you could do dermatology.
Yes, I have seen those memes.
You could do dermatology, look good, because I have to date not seen a dermatologist with blemished skin.
Yeah, well, with the
even the men, as in, so I sit in wonder all the time. So I'm sure when I'm around dermatologists, I always wonder, why is this chick staring?
Well, that is true. But to be honest, you can by and large have a 9 to 5. But remember, I said we also have emergencies.
Yeah.
Yes. If you can have one patient who keeps you in hospital for a couple of hours, trying to sort them out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Far away from home back then, what are some of the things that you would do that helped your mental health?
At what juncture?
At the time when you're in Cardiff. You're far away from home.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I would say, of course, Skype calls, hanging out with your newfound friends who are doing the fellowship program. And I think for me, it was mainly listening. To be honest, for me, it was listening to Kenyan music on YouTube.
Yeah.
That was on repeat all the time.
Yeah.
So, because, you do generally tend to feel homesick. But you have new friends. You go for movies.
Yeah.
You have your friends from class. You plan dates and activities to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Try out new things or explore. You know, like now you're in a new place.
Yeah.
And the university used to have, like every month, they used to have different, like you could go to Bath, you could go to Windsor. So there were always activities to do to keep you busy.
Yes. So plugging into those, figuring out where they are.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And in terms of your faith, what role did your faith play during that time?
Well, a very, very huge role. To date, not just at that time, to date. For me, it's very important to remember the value of God in your life, wherever He's gotten you to. I also don't think where our path goes or the people who we meet, even the patients who come to see us.
Yeah.
I always feel there's a reason why they came to see you. Even when you're in a busy facility or a hospital and you're seeing patients, there's a reason why that person, probably there's something they needed you to assist them with something.
Yeah.
So definitely a very, very huge role in where I am now, where I was even in Cardiff, the things I did. Yes, definitely.
Definitely. Okay. And what would be your words of wisdom or your words of advice for somebody who's thinking about going into a fellowship, specifically like for dermatology? What would be your words of advice for that person?
I would put it as generally, not just dermatology alone. Remember, this is something you'll be doing for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So you don't want to commit to something. Don't commit to do something because you want to make money. Like, of course, money is an important thing to think about.
Yeah.
But also think of, is it something you enjoy to do? Is it something even when you feel tired or you're stressed? Is it something that when you wake up, you feel, okay, let me go to work and do 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to do something that you feel adds value and something you feel you enjoy working towards. I feel most of us there are definitely willing and available if someone wants to ask something, to assist, and show them what they can do or how to join the fraternity.
Yeah. And that's so key, I think, because I think right now, especially in the whole context of there not being work readily available, a lot of people are geared towards finances primarily. So just hearing about, like, you're going to be doing this for a while. Just pick something you can tolerate.
Because, you've committed your time and resources. I've seen many people, like even when I used to work as a medical officer, when you're filling out those forms for insurance, for either whichever policy someone wants to make, someone has done a med program. And then they're like, this is not for me. You probably are self-sponsored, you've paid for yourself, you've committed 3 years of your time. And then after that, you're like, because you rushed to do it. Because maybe either you are feeling pressure. Because also if yes, you're looking to make money, but also have a plan, which also means have mentorship, so that even this person will direct you and tell you, okay, I've heard of this. There's an opportunity in this. So, for example, even there are people who do their MEd program, and they still do a subspecialty, so that even by the time they're finishing their MEd, they're finishing with a subspecialty in something. Yes. Like in 4 years, you've already done a fellowship in, let's say, oncology or renal or whatever, infectious diseases.
So that now at least you come back more wholesome. In whatever choice you decided.
Whichever choice you decide to do.
Oh, I feel like now in retrospect, it's not that I'm very old, but now in retrospect, I wish we'd had more of these conversations when we were in our 20s, when we were trying to figure out what it is that we wanted to do and why we wanted to achieve our goals. I know every so often we'd talk about it, like, what do you want to do? Okay, how have you got it till there? We never used to ask each other, will you be able to tolerate this thing? 20 years, 30 years down the line, you sound very passionate about it, but will you still be able to do it? Will it help you achieve your, also other goals outside of finances? So I think for a lot of younger clinicians, the guys who are just fresh out of school, I think those are the questions they need to be asking each other. And then when you can't get the answers in that, to tap into mentorship, because I think there are many of the older doctors who are willing to mentor. And either you don't know how to access them, or there's no one to introduce you, or whatever it might be that stands in the way of you and this particular mentor. Because earlier when you were mentioning the mentor, I remembered wanting to shadow an ENT surgeon back in the day when I was a med student. And I was so frustrated because I wasn't driving yet. And someone had introduced me to this person and had said, follow this person for a week. And they had actually agreed. But every time I got to the hospital, you see there you call and you're like, okay, Dr. Caro, how are you? Which hospital are you now? You tell me, I don't know. I'm in Nairobi Hospital and I'm seeing a couple of patients. I'll be here till 10. So you're like, cool. You who's not been driving, you panda a mat. You make sure you're there. 9 o'clock, you're there. You walk to the clinic where the person said they are. Guy has already gone.
What?
So you're okay. So you call again. Now it's a secretary who's like, hello, yes, he told, he had to leave. He's at Aga Khan. So you get onto another matatu and try and get there. And by the time you get there, guy has already gone to the third hospital. Back I was just like, what is this mentorship? That was my first interaction with actively seeking out an older person. And it was cemented, I'll never want to do ENT surgery. I was like, these people. Okay, later on, they're very kind people. We have ENT friends. But at that time, those are the colors that I had in my view. In terms of, and I know this is a very aesthetic question, you know how fellows live their lives. It's stressful. It's intensely crazy. What is a sustainable skincare routine? I have to ask a dermatologist. What's a sustainable skincare routine for a fellow so that we don't look so In my language, you say horekad.
Yes.
In English, it is you don't look so beaten, dead, whatever other word it might be.
Anyway, fellowship is that you read a lot. You have timelines. You have to submit a thesis. So it's crazy. But honestly, for me, it's just 3 things. Just have a good moisturizer for your skin type. Don't follow the masses.
Yeah.
Be just either come, just be seen as in we are colleagues, so we'll help each other out.
Yeah.
Just have a face wash, a moisturizer, and a sunscreen. Just those 3. Hizo tu tatu.
Hata kama we are dark skinned like this, we get sunscreen.
Yes, you need to use sunscreen. Look, there's global warming.
Yes.
Look at the amount of the UV index, how much ultraviolet is getting to the. Aren't there days in January you feel like your face is burning, like it's prickly?
Yes.
You have 2 shades, but the shade you left with in the morning is not the one you came back with in the evening.
And then there's a shade for the driver's side, so the right side of your face.
Yes.
Versus the left side of your face.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
So hydrate. Drink as much water as you can.
Right.
Get a good face wash, moisturizer, sunscreen. Try to sleep as the hours you can. Try to squeeze in, because I know fellowship is crazy.
Yeah.
But at least, hydrate. Na hizo tatu. Good.
Those sound doable.
Yes. And remember, work within your budget. Because if it works for you, you don't have to use a product working for you, then hauna pesa kusustain, then you have to start looking. Just those basic 3 things.
Yeah. Okay. I love that, because a lot of fellows, I'm yet to find a fellow who's very rich during their fellowship. Yeah. Everyone's on a very tight budget. Yeah. Now, and I'll shift gears a bit. What did you find, like one of the things that I found really helpful during my fellowship was the check-ins that you would have. Like I'd see a message popping up and you're like, hey, how you doing?
Yes.
Hey. So what would be a couple of pieces of advice to somebody who's a friend of someone going for a fellowship? What would you advise them? Your friend is going for fellowship.
Yes.
What are some practical things that they can do?
I think, to me, honestly, as you said, those check-ins are very important. Those Skype calls, check-ins, send a message, send a funny meme.
Still do Skype? Well, you keep mentioning Skype.
I'm talking about the time when I did my fellowship. You see, now mi nimerudi nyumbani.
Yes.
Yeah, I know there are other, you can do those, some of us do not use iPhones, we're on Android. So.
Okay. So.
But you can do WhatsApp calls, like whatever calls you can do. At that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Check up on your people, send memes. Like, it's also good to find out, so how are things? Also find out, on my end, this is what is happening. Just find out how guys are doing. You also feel, it feels good to talk to people who understand, share a laugh.
Yeah.
Sometimes, of course, even you're going through an issue, you try to see how you can assist or sort out each other.
Yeah. I think it's okay. And I say that because for me, I have a huge respect for you, because you managed somehow to hold space for me, and you are growing your family. I mean, that's around the time you'd had your first baby. That's when I'd gone for fellowship.
Oh, yes, when you went for your fellowship. Yes, it was just around that time.
Around that time, and I think also birth of second baby.
Yes.
And you still managed to hold space.
Yes.
As in for, hey, how you doing? I'm like, Mama, you have 2 small children.
Trust me. You at that time, the more reason why you want to have adult conversations.
All the more reason. Yes. Bless their hearts, but I did an adult conversation. Yeah.
Yes.
But then I really appreciate that, because I don't think we appreciate our friends enough. People talk about the academics of it and all these other things, but not about the relationships that helped you cross that finish line. I remember when you were away, and that's when I learned Google Chat. I never used to use Google Chat until you were away, and I was just like, no, I have to use this Google Chat thing.
Yes.
Dear Carol.
Yes, actually we used to do Google Chats. And one Skype.
And one Skype.
Yes.
But mostly like that. And I realized it was really, really hard, because we were used to seeing each other fairly often. But then now it's the intentionality for what this person is on the other side of the world. Like, let's keep in touch, check in on them, what's going on with you. So I really appreciate that. And I don't want it to just peter like that. Let it not go unsaid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow,
so
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. But it was 2-way. So you went, I checked. At Abimi, when I went, yes, we kept each other in mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Hiani, overall, I don't know how I can be able to tell more and more people, especially because women were not good at maintaining friendships. For some reason, something happens along the way. But then if we can figure out a way to be able to continue to support each other, even on that medical education journey, it goes so much further than you would have anticipated.
Yes.
Is there something that you would want to say towards somebody who had gone along one pathway towards dermatology and now has found a different world order? What would your words of advice be for that person? Because I can only imagine how discouraging it is. You've invested money, then you come home and find the board has changed the story.
Yes.
So what would your words of advice be or encouragement for this person?
I think I don't think it's too late. You can still practice, because you cannot take away the knowledge you have learned and acquired.
Yeah.
So if it's still a path or journey that you really still want to pursue, it's just finding out what you need to do for you to be recognized to be a dermatologist.
Yeah.
But generally, what I would also advise anyone planning to do a subspecialty, it's always good to, before you go for whatever course you are going for, first find out what the board regulations are. And they'll always tell you if some things are going to be changing anytime soon, so that you don't also invest your time and money and then find things have changed.
Yeah.
So it's good to always find out what the board requirements are. But back to your question, you cannot take away the knowledge that you have gained.
Yeah.
So you can still use it. You can apply it to whichever field, whether you will be seeing patients or wherever you'll be seeing them.
Yeah.
And then just if it's something that you still want to continue to pursue, then it means sometimes you just have to make the sacrifice and say, this is what is required. Higher. This is what I need to apply to do what I need to do. You do it. Because I remember in undergrad, we had someone who was a clinical officer who came back to do medicine.
Yes.
And this was a person who was a clinical officer. I think he was an anesthetist. I'm not sure that he had done that.
Yeah.
But we did have people who came back to do medicine and commit from scratch to do the 5 years.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. If it is still something you strongly desire in your heart, still do it. Because this person they did the undergrad and then they did anesthesia.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. After that, they still went to do anesthesia.
And still went to do anesthesia. Our class also had a 50-year-old person from first year, like fresh.
Yes.
And now, in my not 50 yet years, and I'm just like, what? You went through med school from the age of 50? As in... Yeah, so for me, I really resonate with that. Especially, there are some key things you said, talking to the board.
Yes.
And now the board made themselves more accessible. Either online or even just walking to the offices and asking particular questions. And then also, I think I'd want to add on to that, talk to other people who are in the program. I mean, who are in the specialty you want, and just be very practical about it. I know anytime guys want to go into dermatology and they happen to ask me, I always push them in your direction. I was like, me, my friend Carol is a dermatologist, please ask her. And so I think don't be discouraged. I think it's just doubling down and trying to figure out, okay, how do we get back on track with this thing? But Carol, I so appreciate you taking the time today.
Karibu sana.
In your first podcast experience.
Yes, definitely. It was a very good experience. Yes.
We really appreciate it. You've had so many nuggets, and I'm so grateful that you shared your experience. And at the same time, just give people a sneak peek also into our friendship. At least kidogo. Yes. Yeah. So I really appreciate that. And for our listeners who've been on this safari with me, please ask questions. Let us know any other thing that you want to find out about dermatology and the area of dermatology. Please ask so that I have stuff to forward to Carol to answer in terms of questions. Let us know what you thought about this conversation. And until next time, bye.
Bye, everybody.
I'm so glad you stayed tuned. Please get the word out and share it with at least 3 people. Make this episode like a chain letter. Share it, share it, share it. Come back for the next leg of our safari, where we'll be talking about...
The main thing for me would be looking back 5, 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Would you be able to live with the decision that you did? Would you have a regret for towing the line? Or would you rather have a sense of adventure, experiment, try, fail, or succeed? Okay.
Listeners are advised to use their own judgment and discretion when applying any information discussed in this and all podcast episodes to their specific situation. Always seek the advice of a qualified professional if you have any concerns or questions regarding a particular subject matter. You can find this and other episodes of this podcast on our website at www.fellowshipsafaris.org. You can also find all our episodes on all podcast platforms. Reach out to us on social media as Fellowship Safaris on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and our Twitter handle is @fellowshipsafar. You could also send us an email on fellowshipsafaris@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you and interacting with what you have to say about the Fellowship Safaris podcast. It takes a village to make this podcast. The executive producer and original music is done by Mokavi Maweu. The sound engineer is Tevin Sudi with thanks to AQ Studios. Graphic design was done by Benjamin Mboya. We would like to give a special shout out to Josephine Karianjahe and Melissa Mbogwa of Africa Podfest. All rights reserved by Dr. Jerry Karianjahe and the Fellowship Safaris podcast.